from Old Dominion University. At this time, Dr. Hutchison.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. If you'll just indulge me while I get a drink of water. It's been a privilege to enjoy your campus today and get to meet so many of you. We've been asked to make a short presentation about the proposed Workforce and Advanced Technology Center here on campus. And I recognize that you've enjoyed 2 of these already. And so I'm not sure what my esteemed colleagues from other locations have shared with you, but I'll do my best to share with you what I know about it and the opportunities that it involves. Ultimately, though, I'd like to say thank you to the college. I'd like to really begin with that. You've been generous hosts. This community has been generous to me and to my wife during our time here for the last couple of days. And we're really grateful. You've made Abingdon a welcoming place, and this college has shined in that as well. So let's talk a little bit about this proposed project here on the campus. What I want to emphasize really is that as we think about this project and the opportunities that it presents, VHCC is really the right place. And for those of you that call Abingdon home, you've known this now, and the community has known it for more than 50 years. The institution has provided critical services to the region's employers with quality workforce programs, not just academic transfer programs, but we've been engaged in quality workforce training for more than 50 years in business, allied health, agriculture, natural resources, and all of these technologies led by expert industry faculty. But in addition to that capacity for students that are pursuing college degrees and certificates, Virginia Highlands also has the capacity to provide customized training support to startup needs and to improve the skills of incumbent workers through upgrades and helping unemployed workers find better opportunities. Embedded in this is the college's ongoing intent to develop new programs as the region's workforce needs it. Not every program that Highlands offers today was offered 50+ years ago. And it's evidence of the institution's nimbleness and willingness to develop to meet the region's need. More than just finding new ways to deliver old classroom technology, what you've experienced for more than the last 50 years includes some unique ways to deliver that education, including the expansive online learning catalog. VHCC is the right college for this project. And it starts really with our expert faculty. The men and women who teach at Virginia Highlands Community College are more than just great teachers, though they are that. They're recognized as industry experts, and they bring their expertise into the classroom so that students get not just a great education, but they're well prepared for the jobs that await them. This facility will be an addition to the world-class facilities I've had the privilege of touring all day today. Between the nursing sim labs and the mechatronics classrooms and all the points in between, this college has all of the elements necessary for great workforce training and development. But it's more than just a college in isolation. It's the college plus these other features. Partnerships with Manufacturing Technology Center, the Fast Forward Career Center, and the Small Business Development Center. All of these are complementary features that make Virginia Highlands the right place for this kind of project. And when you take it one step further, the capacity that's here in the testing center to provide credentials and to validate those credentials, more and more VHCC is the right place and that single stop for this community and this region. While being a great place to get an education, it is also part of a great place for this community. And it offers complimentary meeting spaces like this for large group meetings and gatherings and trainings. It's the space for the entire community to gather and advance its own cause. In addition to being just a regular space, there's these events that happen here on the college, like the annual career fair that connects job seekers with regional employers. The opportunity for this facility to be the hub for all of these things, so that when the community of Abingdon thinks of Virginia Highlands, it thinks of it as the center for job readiness, career advancement, and economic development. It doesn't take a lot of research to see and to find some of the companies that are already using Virginia Highlands to accomplish these feats. These These companies are already accessing the capacity that the state has invested here, right in Southwest Virginia, to grow the local economy. And these are some of the employers that have taken advantage of the college's workforce development capacity and its instructional capacity to grow their businesses and to train their workers. What we have found in our time here is VHCC is more than just the right college for this. This is the right community. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the board members that are here and the foundation board members who see this college as not just an asset for its students in the immediate, but it's much larger than that. It's a resource for the whole community. Southwest Virginia and its natural beauty and historic charm, the depth of cultural arts, this is a great place to live. And that's important because after that employee finishes his training or gets off work, he still has to live somewhere. I've been impressed with the capacity that this community offers in great restaurants and fine dining and walking places downtown, whether it's the arts centers and the Barter Theater or just the ability to navigate the beautiful history and the Virginia Creeper Trail. You could go on, and frankly, you know it better than I, but I'm overwhelmed by the resources that this community brings to the table, not just from an economic development standpoint, but as a great place to live. There's more than 300,000 residents in the broader metropolitan statistical area, which means that this community is large enough to attract the right kind of employers. Abingdon's a beautiful city, but it's more than just this local city. It's all the things around it that make it a great place. In fact, it is, as a part of this larger metropolitan statistical area, it's a destination within that group. Abingdon is the right location. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also celebrate the fact that Virginia is the right place and the Virginia Community College system is the right system. It's easy for us to become really focused and to some degree appropriate on what the opportunity may be for these programs to be housed here. They're spread out throughout the community, but bringing this concentration of additional workforce programs onto the campus and ramping up the power here. But it shouldn't be lost on us that we're part of a much bigger conversation. Virginia is the destination for top 100 companies like Amazon and other large manufacturers because of the capacity of the Virginia Community College system. With almost 250,000 students and over 13,000 employers served, we have the opportunity to be a part of what the larger system is doing. So the employers that have workers statewide can leverage the capacity that we have here in Abingdon to serve those same employees with the same quality of training that they receive anywhere else in the state. I'm excited about the opportunity for this campus. It's more than just another building. It's bringing these high-tech, important workforce development programs here into the center of campus. And it will create its own synergy as it attracts more students and those students' friends and families and relatives to come explore the opportunities here. And as those workers are trained at this location, we'll attract more businesses to the Abingdon community. And there's so much more to offer than just Abingdon. It's the entire metropolitan statistical area. It's Bristol and the surrounding communities. This is a great place to live, and it's a great system to be a part of. At the end of the day, Virginia Highlands is a remarkable place. I mentioned earlier, I've had the privilege to meet a number of students and speak with a lot of faculty and staff today. And the overwhelming impression I've received is this is a college that is doing great things for students. And it's doing great things for its community. Along the way, we've got the opportunity to expand and deepen that capacity and grow this campus in a way that adds value to our region's employers and gives students even better pathways and outcomes into meaningful jobs. And for those students that are looking to transfer, they'll have opportunities to gain employable skills and material knowledge along the way that will make them more successful. And ultimately, better contributors and citizens in the communities that we value so much. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we're going to open it up to questions, but I'm going to ask the first one since I have the mic. If you would, tell us about your ties to our area.
Is it okay if I just take this microphone out? Thank you. I feel like I'm hiding behind a podium. I don't want to do that. This is going to make a little bit of noise. Sorry, sound booth people. I think I did that right. Is that better? It sounds better to me. So Dr. Thomas's question was the ties to the community. So I'm a Virginia graduate. I graduated, did all my graduate work in the state of Virginia, but on a more personal note, we have family in Tennessee. My mom and my brothers live in Tennessee. My wife has siblings that live in East Tennessee. We have close friends because of my graduate work that are also in Virginia. My wife spent a significant portion of her childhood growing up in East Tennessee, sort of on the plateau area. And in fact, that's actually where we met. So this is very much like home to us. We've been in Texas now for 20 years. I had to do quick math in my head. For 20 years. But we have quite a few familial ties actually to East Tennessee and to the Western Virginia area. Along the way, we've made some great friends through my professional contacts. And all of those people, I should say, when we tried to learn more about you, as I mentioned earlier to one group, I've Googled you. I know you've Googled me. As we've done that exploration, all of those people that we've talked to have been so complimentary of Virginia Highlands Community College and this community. They couldn't stop talking about the great things that are happening here, both in the community, the region it serves, the opportunities that are here. They were honest about the challenges, but they were so generous in their compliments about this being a great college and a great community. So that was really our one of the largest attractors to us. I'm a rural college guy. Most of the students that I serve at the college where I currently work are rural college students. I understand the challenges that rural college students have. I understand that students are frequently academically underprepared. They're often financially challenged, and they have big social challenges because they may not have connections about how to succeed in college. And I've spent my entire career working with that population of students and helping them succeed. And that's really my goal here or wherever we may land, is to find a place to plug into a rural community college. At heart for us, and I know I'm going a little long, Dr. Thomas, but at heart for us, as we explored what may be a good fit, our keen interest was a college that loves its community and a community that loves its college. I'll be honest, it's not about head count or the number of programs or net assets or anything like that. We're looking for a college that loves its community and a community that loves its college, and it's clear that that's the case here in Abingdon with VHCC. Thank you. So I think they're going to walk around with microphones, and I'll just do my best to answer questions.
I'll ask the first question. Dr. Hutchison, can you tell us the role that you think that VHCC should play in the community? What would be your vision there as far as this college, but for community colleges in general as well?
Sure. In my view, the community college is the center of the community. It's the hub for what happens here. It has the opportunity, especially here at Highlands, to be both an academic hub, that is the default place that people understand this is where education happens, whether I'm pursuing a transfer opportunity to a four-year university, or I'm going to get workforce skills so I can go straight out to work for a local employer, or I'm an existing employee and I just need to upgrade my skills to get that raise or the next job. Certainly VHCC has the opportunity and should be that educational hub. But greater than that, and I think especially here in Abingdon, VHCC can be that cultural hub too. This is such a rich cultural area with the arts and theater and music and other pieces. When people think of where these things are taught and learned and experienced, this is the place where that can happen. Facilities like this where the college is making, putting on productions twice a year, or hosting concerts or hosting community events. When people in the community think of arts and those activities, this is part of that dialogue. And in a larger sense, and now I'm speaking perhaps out of turn, but I'm a guest, I can do that, right? This campus, the entire platform of facilities here, including the cultural center next door, the government building down the road, the small business incubator at the end of the road, all of those are part of the larger campus for VHCC. And when this community thinks about the resources that it needs, this is the place where those things can happen and should happen. So if you're a small businessman or woman in Bristol and you're thinking, I need some help. Where can I get some input on how to grow my business? And while I'm doing that, I need to think about hiring the next generation of employees. And I wonder if I should upgrade my equipment and how would I go about doing that? And I wonder what other pieces of the puzzle are a part of it. This is the place where that can be answered. It's not only a beautiful campus, it's so strategically located. As I called my friends in Virginia and asked about VHCC, all of them said, when you drive down the interstate, there are presidents and colleges all over the country that would kill to be on the interstate. This place is visible, it's accessible, it's beautiful. The facilities you have are second to none, and you have every reason to be proud of the resources that you have here. And so my vision, to answer your question, is it's the hub. My vision would be to make it as much as possible the center of those things in our community. And if it's not reasonable or practical to necessarily host those things here, then how do we engage them in our community? How does the VHCC flag fly with the community in those activities? How do we participate? How do we partner? How can we get our students engaged, or our faculty, or our staff? How do we join in these activities so that everywhere people look, they see VHCC? Hold on, we're going to get to you in just a second.
Oh, no, let's let you go first,
You ready?
because you're the most important person.
There you go.
My name is Tashana McDaniel, and I am the SGA Vice President and a Great Expectation student here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my question is, what challenges do you think will be the most improving change that you can make to the school, and how will it benefit not only the outlook of the school, but the students and teachers and all faculty?
That's a great question. Let me answer it first by giving you all the props you deserve. You're a rock star to go through what you've gone through to be a student here. I'm so proud of you. That is awesome. When I learned about the Great Expectations program, frankly, I was jealous. I thought, this is the best thing. I'm headed back to Texas, and I got to go find somebody I can talk to in Texas, because that makes so much sense. The challenges that you've overcome to get to college are exactly why VHCC exists, and I'm just going to be more proud of you. So congratulations, and involved in student government as well. That's fantastic. Your question was challenges and how can it help the college in the future. There are certainly some challenges on the horizon in higher ed, and one of the biggest ones I think we face is the academic preparedness of our students. Those students who show up on day one and they're really not ready to do college level work in math, reading, or writing. And we experience that on the first day in class. Unfortunately, those students that come to college with those biggest gaps in their college readiness are also the least likely to succeed. We know that once college gets rolling, if you're not reading well, if you're not writing or doing mathematics at a college level, it feels like a snowball downhill. You just get further and further behind. So I think that's one of our biggest challenges. It would be easy to point at our K through 12 partners and blame them for failing those students, for not getting them ready. But I would argue that the opportunity exists for us to more intentionally partner with them on a solution. How do we go to that high school and find a way to intervene before the student ever finishes high school? If we know a student is not on track to be college ready, what's our responsibility to partner with that school district to help the student be college ready when they start here? And it might mean things like boot camps or after school sessions, and Highlands may be doing some of this already. I have no doubt that you may be, but the opportunity is golden. Trying to intervene with a student who's already behind on the first day of college, boy, that just adds to your stress. The better plan is let's help them before they get out of high school and make sure that whether or not they come to Highlands or they choose another institution where they can succeed, they're college ready on day one. While some might argue, well, wait a minute, Highlands only has a responsibility to those students that are coming to Highlands. Honestly, I think I would argue differently. We have a responsibility to everybody we can reach. The student who fails out of college isn't helping our community. And if the goal is to build a stronger community and more engaged citizenry, I'm okay if that student that we help in this way goes to a college in Tennessee or to Southwest or to Mountain Empire. Look, we want them to succeed. Helping that student to get ready to succeed in college is a critical piece of their success. We know from all the national research that academic preparedness is the #1 barrier to students' academic success when they start here. I think that's our biggest challenge and also the biggest opportunity for us to use the expertise that we already have in helping these students get to academic readiness. Let's help those high schools engage that academic readiness before they ever get here. Great question. Thank you.
It's my privilege to go after Shauna. Hey, Shauna. My question, with all of the things that have to be done in higher education, Dr. Hutchison, and we met earlier, I'm Patty Timon, I teach English and do some other stuff. But my question is, with all that needs to be done, and with, of course, trends across the nation, fewer people with whom to do it, as far as faculty, staff, how do you feel about work-life balance as far as how much should someone work overtime? How healthy is it? Even though sometimes you get caught up, and if you're with a wonderful student, you know, you want to, I'll stay here till 11:30 tonight if that's what it takes. What happens there in that place of overtime when people start to get stretched? What's your philosophy on that?
It's hard in a student-oriented institution to know how to turn the switch off sometimes. Everybody who works at Virginia Highlands, I suspect, is just like all the rest of us that work at two-year colleges. We're committed to our students' success. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. And those times when you have a student in your office and you're trying to solve a thorny problem, or you're trying to counsel or advise or tutor a student to a successful point, sometimes it's easy to lose track of that time. I will say, though, the challenge of maintaining a work-life balance is a real one. Sometimes our hearts lead and our bodies never catch up, or our families never catch up. So I don't want to be prescriptive and tell people how to do their jobs. That wouldn't be appropriate here. But I can tell you some things that we've tried in the past, and some activities that we've done that really help us balance things out. One is an appropriate and healthy perspective. We have the privilege of working in higher education, and it really is a privilege. We get to touch people's lives in a meaningful way in the classroom. The balance to that is, as I like to say, we're not launching rockets and we're not doing brain surgery. There's nothing that we messed up today that we can't fix tomorrow. Many of those services and resources that students need that often happens after hours, we need to be committed to helping solve them during those hours that we can. Now, admittedly, we've got night students and evening and weekend students, and we need to be prepared to serve those students when they are prepared for college resources. And that's probably a better lead. When students are expecting those services or when we should provide those services. Outside of that, though, one of the healthiest things we can do as an organization is be healthy to each other. Just a slight tangent here. I don't think there's anyone who questions the ability of VHCC. It's a robust, strong, wise place. We're talented here. We also have to pay attention to organizational health. And by that, I mean the way we treat each other and the way we handle our services in a way that we relate. So I'm going the long way to answer your question, but I'll just dive right in and we'll see if they ever invite me back. But I'll say this. We have to be wise about the way we guard each other's time. So for example, we don't send emails at my office after 6 p.m. or before 7 a.m. or on the weekends. And the reason we don't, and that doesn't mean I don't think, yeah, there's a joke in there somewhere, but what I mean, the reason for that is this. Me sending an email from my desk may get it off my mind, but I just loaded your family in the evening. And that's not fair. You deserve family time like I deserve family time. Me sending an email on the weekend may not equip you to solve the problem. If I've emailed you about a student services issue or a student issue that can't be solved until Monday, now I've clogged up your brain for the weekend when you should be focused on giving and pouring into your family and receiving from those that you love. That doesn't mean I sometimes don't get it out of my head. There's a draft folder in my outbox because I got to get it out of my head too so I can rest with my family. And so sometimes if I choose to work at night, that's my issue. And I'm trying to get stuff out of my brain and onto paper. And I'll follow up in the morning with the teammates that need to address that. But I think it's wise to guard one another's time. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what about an emergency if a student's hurt or a building's on fire or something? We have cell phones. You can always call, right? Calls or text in case of emergency. It doesn't mean we go radio silent. If there's an emergency, we can handle that. But the routine of business, at some point, we need to give people a break. So now I know I'm way out on a limb and I've probably violated 10 policies or something like that. But I guess what I'm sharing with you is it really does matter as an organization of how we manage one another's health in that way. And it means having appropriate barriers and boundaries and say, wait, your weekend belongs to you. Let's do it this way. And if there's an event for the community that involves a college over the weekend, we can navigate that. We're all professionals, right? If the college has an event and we need to go participate, great, let's go participate. And we can figure out the rest in the middle. We can fulfill those obligations to our students in a healthy way while maintaining a healthy work-life balance. And I would suggest that that's a priority for any organization that wants to attract and keep the best employees. You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. I'm the Student Activities Officer for SGA, and I'm in Great Expectations as well. My question is, how do you plan to support the students on campus to make it feel like a safe place and to work towards a career that we're proud of?
And so I missed the last, what that you're proud of?
A career that we're
A
proud of.
career that you're proud of. Thank you. I'm sorry, I lost that word. It's good to see you again, Mackenzie. We met this morning at breakfast. And congratulations again to you. Mackenzie is doing American Sign Language. We were talking about that earlier, and it has made me want to go study American Sign Language. We need to give her a t-shirt to go recruit students for that course. She was terrific. So how do we help students feel connected to the institution and put them on a path towards a career they feel proud of? Is that?
Yes.
It's a great question. I think it starts with understanding that the students who arrive at a college like Virginia Highlands have dignity and worth. They have big dreams and aspirations just like you and I do. And they're still trying to navigate the world that they're moving into. So they're getting lots of information and lots of inputs about where their values should lie or who they should know or what's important and all of these things. And those are all hard inputs to navigate. And so I think it's wise for us as college leaders and colleagues to treat students with dignity and respect while they're navigating that process. And that means giving them room to explore those ideas, giving them room to have those conversations, giving them the space to learn new information and do it in a way that respects and treats with dignity the transition along the way. I've got my set of values. You probably got a set of values that might be different from mine, and I think that's okay. The right place to have that conversation and figure out what we want to look like as a community and a society, college is a wonderful spot for that to happen. And we can do that in a way that manages to do it respectfully and treating one another with respect and dignity. The second part of your question is, how do you help move me towards a career that's meaningful? And I think that's an obligation, a responsibility that the next president and the staff here at Virginia Highlands has for you. And it includes things like conversations with local employers and employers that are looking for Highlands graduates. Specifically, the programs that are taught here that are designed for career and employment need to have a meaningful career on the other end of them. If there's not a meaningful job on the other end of that transaction, then we're not serving the student well by taking their money and not giving them a meaningful career. And that sounds harsh because I'm as attached to my technical program as anybody else, and I have my affinities. But the reality is there is a grand bargain that takes place. When a student shows up at the college and says, I'm bringing you all my hopes and dreams and a few of my dollars, and on the other end of this, I hope you'll help me find a great paying job. And if I live up to my end and study hard, work hard, and be a good student, will the college help me on the other end find that job? And the answer should be yes. And it may mean along the way that we've got to do some work at connecting with new employers. And I'm looking at our career services person here. Part of her responsibility is finding those employers and making those connections along the way so that if there's an internship or a co-op opportunity, that student can gain experience and get ahead in the job market great, let's find that and plug it in. Are there employers that are looking for particular skill sets that we're not teaching? Then we have a responsibility to modify curricula and make sure that the skills gained in those programs have meaningful outcomes to employers. Those students that are on those career technology program tracks have an appropriate expectation that what we're teaching and the way we're teaching it means a great paying job on the other end. And on a regular cycle, the college has to review, are we fulfilling that brand expectation? And what we have found in two-year colleges across the country is that employers change. And some of the technologies we've taught for years are no longer relevant. And in other cases, new technologies are coming and we need to be prepared to help fulfill the workforce obligations for those technologies. Part of what I'm sure I did not present very well in my presentation was the opportunity to put this new facility here at Highlands is a great kickstart to what we know are high demand, high wage occupations in the region. And bringing them here to campus where they can be successful, we can attract more students and more technologies and more employers is about moving this college forward. So I don't know if I answered your question well. I hope I did, but I think we've got an obligation to you when you show up on day one and say, I'm interested in this program. We ought to be able to explain in a way that's meaningful what the opportunities are at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always asking questions. Hello again, Dr. Hutchison.
Hi.
If you could just continue on that conversation just a little bit. We had some conversation earlier today when you were meeting with the classified staff, and I feel like there's probably some folks that are here now that were not a part of that conversation, but we began to talk a little bit about those crucial relationships with crucial stakeholders such as K-12, chambers of commerce, workforce development boards, local business and industry. Just on an everyday ground level, what will your approach look like in building those crucial relationships here in our VHCC community?
That's an important question. And the answer is show up. It sounds trite, and I don't mean it to, but here's what I mean by that. The next president of VHCC has the opportunity to be the head cheerleader, and I mean that with all respect and affection, for the institution to all of those stakeholders. And so when I say show up, what I mean is whether it's Rotary or Kiwanis or the Economic Development or the Chamber of Commerce or wherever it is, the community won't remember VHCC if VHCC doesn't show up. We have to be at the table if you want to be a part of the decision making, if you want to be engaged in the process, if you want to be in the middle of that project, you got to show up. And I think part of the responsibility of the position for which I've applied is to show up. Certainly, there's a lot for me to learn. I don't know everything, and I'm not ever going to be the smartest guy in the room, unless maybe I'm the only person in the room. But the opportunity to be, to represent the institution at that level means you go and you shake hands and you say, here's who I am, here's the flag I'm waving, how can we serve you well? How can we serve your interests? How can we serve your business? How can we serve your school district? What's our role at this conversation? How can we be a part of this? At least initially, that first year or whatever that time frame is, showing up is the critical piece. And what we have found is that when we begin to engage the community and we show up, more and more that community realizes that they belong to the college as much as the college belongs to them. And that kind of relationship is what sponsors and spawns and facilitates how do we get help for our students from this community. So practically speaking, in the past, I've worked at colleges where my job was to show up at those meetings. And I took the role after a gap in leadership at my institution. And when I started attending Rotary and ISD meetings and different councils and board meetings, the response was almost universally, oh, it's so good to see your college. We had forgotten all about you. And it's not that they didn't care, but if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And over time, and building those relationships and reknitting those relationships back to the institution, when the time came to call on those partners on behalf of our students, that's an easy call. They know us. They know what we're about. They know why we're here. And so it was phone calls like, I've got a student whose car broke down. I need your help. Sure. We're a part of your community too. We'll help. And it doesn't mean that they give giant gifts, although we certainly wouldn't turn away big gifts. But what we found is the more we interacted with those community members and the more that they understood that we rely on them and they rely on us for our community, the easier that conversation became. And the easier it was to engage them on campus, for us to engage off campus. And again, at the end, the goal is a college that loves its community and a community that loves its college. And I think it's wonderful if that line just blurs, where people say, oh, well, of course it's VHCC, because that's us. That's the goal. So when the college has a need, specifically when students have need, then we as an institution reach out and say, all right, we are you and you are us. We need help here. And they can, and they will respond. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is your leadership philosophy?
Oh, that is such a hard question. That's like asking, what's my dessert philosophy? Yes. No, it's a good question because people want to know, what am I getting into? How does he approach the institution? And there are certainly some good labels, and I don't mean to belittle leadership studies. It's important. I've done a lot of leadership study work. What I have found is the answer is, it depends. But I would argue that there are some common threads here. And so let me start with a couple of those common threads, and then I'll get back to the depends. The common threads are things like this. Whoever is the next president of Virginia Highlands works for everybody. The way the organization chart works is that whoever sits in that office works for everybody. That's rule one. And by the way, I say that not just to create some sort of artificial good feelings. I say that because that's the way it really works best. I would be a poor president, I would be a poor provost if I didn't want to serve. That's not how this job works. You have to serve. That's rule one. Second part of the leadership philosophy would be tell the truth. I know that seems tacky, but that's a lot harder for some leaders to do than you'd expect. What I have found is I am very bad at keeping conspiracy theories going. So I've just given up. I don't want to keep a conspiracy going. I just want to tell you the truth and answer the question why. We talked a little bit about that in one of the sessions. So that those two things go hand in hand. Leadership philosophy, you're here to serve, and you're here to answer the question why truthfully. Built around that are other pieces of the puzzle that depend on the circumstance. There are times when it's important to have a collaborative decision-making process, and the leader, or in this case, the president's office's job, or her job would be the facilitator of that collaborative process. I got to get all the right stakeholders at the table so a healthy decision can be made. That's sometimes the right answer. And often is when it comes to things like program development. The people that are affected by how those programs work need to be a part of the discussion and the decision. In other cases, the right leadership answer is delegation. Because I said this jokingly earlier, and I may be stepping on a toe here, but I'm not sure, so I'll just say it again because I get that luxury as a visitor. The role that I've applied for shouldn't be in the way of all the other qualified people doing their jobs every day. I don't know what color the carpet should be, but there are really good people who are employed by the college who should know and have that responsibility to our students to serve them well with that answer. And I'm not trying to be tacky or trite. What I'm saying is sometimes delegating is the right answer because this board would expect from whoever sits in the president's office to do the things that only the president can do. And if the president's doing things that somebody else can do, then the president's not doing the things that only he or she could do. Does that make sense? And so then the other part of that leadership philosophy would look something like this. Sometimes you just own it all. And I don't mean in a possessive way, I mean in a responsibility way. And sometimes the buck stops at that desk and the hard decision has to be made and the difficult conversations are required. And sometimes that's the way, that's what the board would expect. That's what the faculty and staff and students would expect, that the president's going to make that decision and own the responsibility for making it. With all those things I just described, that's exactly the kind of leader I aspire to be. I will admit or confess or whatever the right term is, I sometimes stub my toe. And I need good people around me to help make sure that I stay focused on the things that only I can do. I'm not Superman, put my cape back in the drawer. I need to do the things that are the best things for the college, serving its students well and managing it in such a way that the college can succeed. That's the responsibility of leadership. Thank you.
Hey again, Dr. Hutchison. Quick question for you. You mentioned that we've Googled you and you've Googled us, and you get online, you get a feel for, you do some research, but then you come in person and you get to experience what the real spirit of a place is. And I'm kind of curious, after spending a whole day with us, when you go home this evening, what new things have you learned about VHCC, or how much do you feel we kind of fit well with you after being with us for a day?
You've treated me very gently, so no scars. I'm okay. I'm not bleeding anywhere. In all seriousness, here's what I've seen firsthand today. This is a college that loves its students. You can't put a price on that, and you can't fake that. I've been to institutions where the faculty and staff walked around acting like the students were in their way for whatever else they thought they were going to be doing that day. This place loves its students, and it's clear. I didn't really expect anything differently, but I've so enjoyed getting to watch it happen. That's been a real treat for us. I'll be honest, some surprises that I hope are an encouragement to you. I think the growth potential here is underestimated. I know that the service region for Virginia Highlands is a shrinking demographic. I get that. There are shrinking counties in Texas too. But the opportunity for this college to grow is there. And I think you're taking absolutely the right steps to get there. Bringing the kind of programs to the campus that you're proposing to bring, the intentional efforts at attracting the kind of students and student services that you're providing from the Bristol Connection transit opportunity, that's fantastic. The kind of students that you're attracting to participate and partnering with other colleges, I should mention that too, what you're doing with Mountain Empire and Southwest. This college is frankly more primed to grow than I really honestly gave it credit for. I really believe it is. That's a pleasant surprise. Now that may be more telling of me as I say that out loud. Of course we are. We knew we were. And I'm telling you, you are. So that would be the pleasant surprise. I'm very impressed at the quality of facilities. We drove around campus last night. Where's the chief's not in here, is he? Because you may have been like, what's that car going around in circles for? There he is. Police officer's like, wow, what was that guy doing? So we drove around just to see. I didn't want to be late this morning, but we wanted to kind of get a sense of the campus at large. It's a beautiful campus. You have so much to offer. And for a college that was more than 50 years old, I got to be honest, it doesn't look more than 50 years old. It's in great condition. I'm at a college that's more than 50 years old, and it feels like it's 80 years old. We struggle to keep up with our facilities. It's expensive. And when you're doing technical education, it's even more expensive. So the resources that you have here are enviable. Combine that with the people that you have here, it's rare. And when you layer in the community around it, it's where I want to be.
Thank you.
Is there anything I can say to win votes? Somebody said something about snow days. I'm just kidding. I know the board's here. I'm just being silly. I hope you don't take that too seriously. Can I make some closing remarks? Here's all I'll say in closing. For the last 19 years, I've had the privilege to work at a two-year college. When I started as a faculty member, it was fortunate. I happened to meet somebody who needed a part-time faculty member and a skill that I had. I didn't set out to be in higher ed. It was not on my radar screen, not on my plan. I landed in it. But it didn't take long for me to fall in love with it. I love teaching. I love what we get to do for students. And along this little journey that I've had the privilege to go visit a lot of colleges. I've worked with the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on College as an accrediting reviewer for many years. I chair SACS COC committees. I've been a QEP evaluator. I've been all over the Southeast visiting colleges. Every time I go to another institution, I am encouraged because I don't feel alone. I sound silly, but it's so good to see other people serving students. I think two-year colleges are the best thing happening in the American higher education system. We take the students that are often the least likely to succeed and we move them the furthest. And when they leave our colleges, they're academically ready to go knock it out of the park at any four-year university. I'll put our faculty against anybody's. Or they go out to a great career and they make more money than anybody in their family's ever seen. That's what happens at our sector of higher ed. It is the best thing we do. And so when I say that I'm encouraged, I love coming to colleges like Virginia Highlands and saying, man, I'm not alone, because sometimes I feel overwhelmed. My students have such huge needs, sometimes over what seem like insurmountable challenges. We got budget constraints. We need faculty in this area. We've got administrative overhead. We've got silly reports I feel like we got to run, and all these other pieces of the puzzle that can really kind of bog me down. And then I get to meet people like you. And I see you serve your students and you roll up your sleeve and say, okay, how do we make them better? How do we make sure that these young ladies get to the finish line with a great paying job? How do we make sure they're ready to take that next step into a four-year university and succeed? Whoever gets to serve as your next president will be very blessed. It'll be a privilege for them. And even if it's not me, I'm so honored that you've let me see behind the curtain a little bit what you do every day. I'm encouraged by you. I'm thankful for the work that you do every day to serve two-year college students. I told a group earlier, it feels missional in part. Man, let's roll up our sleeves and get after it because there's that many more students to go serve. This is where the best thing in higher education happens, is right at the two-year college sector. And so it would be a privilege to serve you as a president, but even if I don't get that privilege, I'm so grateful for the way you've encouraged me over the last day and the kindness you showed to me and to my wife in the process. You're doing great stuff here. Keep serving students. Keep serving well. It's really the best way to live. Thank you.
Well, I think you liked what you heard here this afternoon. We want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank everyone who came to hear the presentation this afternoon. So I guess this will be it. I hope you all have a good weekend. Thank you.